The Yorkshiremen retained one final chance of silverware, the FA Cup final on 1st of May against Liverpool. Johannesson, Storey and Bell were all back from injury and included for Leeds, who were rated narrow favourites. However, there were far more red favours than Wembley than white, and Leeds players came out of the tunnel in trepidation. Bill Shankly turned to Collins. "How are you, son?" "To tell the truth, I'd feel fucking awful," muttered Collins, reflecting the mood of his camp. He was almost resigned to failure, telling himself, "There's no chance of winning in Wembley unless the lads have played there and know what to expect." Collins and the mighty Ron Yates came forward for the toss, and there were fully 12 inches between the giant and the midget. Collins called correctly, opting to change ends and allow the Reds to kick off in overcast conditions. The pattern was clear. Liverpool, battled hardened from 3 years of top-flight action and 12 months of European competition, were assured, fluid and flexible, playing within themselves and preferring the certainty of easy ball retention to the gamble of a panicky forward pass. Their forwards were in constant shuttle, offering width and the comfort of a short square pass. St John and Hunt combined in slick 1-2s to leave Charlton and Hunter nonplussed. By comparison, United were as rigid and static as the stance of Peacock. Their defence entrenched on the edge of their own penalty area. Bremner, Giles and Collins clustered tightly in midfield, with only the long ball as an outlet. Johannesson, strangely out of sorts, and Storey, rendered immobile and ineffective by early injury, made only fitful contributions, leaving Peacock alone down the middle, dominated by the towering Yates. Leeds looked one-dimensional and emasculated. The stage had been set for Johannesson to take the cause of the black footballer in Britain to fresh heights. He could have cemented his reputation as the most exciting winger in the game, but the occasion swallowed him whole. The one Leeds player who could excite crowds, he was a shadow of himself. Sprake was the only Leeds man to shine, saving countless efforts to keep United in the contest far longer than they deserved. The match was colourless. Few teams were better equipped to ensure that outcome. Leeds and Liverpool had perfected the method football demanded by the physical rigours of the second division. They set a grim trend in the English game. The opening minutes were typical of the day, untidy, with the most active men being the two trainers. With 3 minutes on the clock, Hunter strained his ankle in a tackle as he nailed his man out on the left. Seconds later, Collins stamped into a challenge on Jerry Byrne. Play was held up for almost 2 minutes as Hunter and Byrne received treatment. At the time, Hunter's looked the more serious problem, but Byrne suffered the greater damage. Recalling later, "I went in for a tackle with Bobby Collins. He put his foot over the ball and turned his shoulder into me. I'd never broken a collarbone before, so I wasn't aware of what damage had been done straight away. It didn't cross my mind to leave the field, and I played on with my arm dangling motionless by my side." Different days. The fullback hid his discomfort so well that none knew until much later that he'd broken a bone. Indeed, he played admirably, making the time and space to avoid further damage. Only once in the first 20 minutes did Leeds threaten. When Bremner released Johannesson, he made some progress and the overlapping Bell then won a corner, but Peacock's header was aimless. Bremner's telling pass was a rarity for United's midfield. Most of their contributions were long and aimless, pumped down the middle for the head of Peacock and easily snuffed out by Yates. Had his colleagues learned from Bremner's example, or Johannesson been more effective with the little possession he enjoyed, Leeds might have fared better. Rain began falling heavily after 25 minutes, making conditions difficult, but Liverpool continued to have the better of things. It never seemed likely, however, that there'd be a goal in a drab first half. Liverpool dominated after the break and several times went close, forcing Sprake into continuous action. On occasions, the United defence were camped in their own area, Liverpool's slick pass and move game pinning them back for long periods. Bremner pushed forward in the latter stages, providing fire but no clear-cut openings as Liverpool became tentative. They were content to hold possession as they shifted crab-like across the field, but fashioned enough chances to have won easily. Surely, Leeds would concede sooner or later, but they didn't, and somehow reached 90 minutes without a breach. Never threatening a goal themselves, they nevertheless proved a durable nut to crack. It was the first time since 1947 that extra time had been necessary, and there was the suspicion that there might be the first replay since 1912, so resolute was Leeds' rearguard. United kicked off the extra 30 minutes with Bremner leading the attack, but the break had disturbed their concentration. Stevenson slipped through several tackles as he danced deftly towards the edge of the Leeds area. He slid an incisive through ball to the overlapping Byrne, and a clipped cross from the byline was met by a stooping Hunt, who nodded home 1-0. Liverpool should have safely seen out time, but Leeds then contrived to create their only opening of the day when Hunter launched the ball into the end penalty area for Charlton to nod down. The advancing Bremner met the dropping ball perfectly on the volley and fired into the open net. Against all expectations, Leeds were back in it. There were no more goals in the first period, but Liverpool launched several assaults as play resumed. Sprake saved strong shot and Hunter volleyed clear when St John got away. Leeds couldn't hold out though, and after 6 minutes Liverpool regained the lead. Smith fed down the route to Callaghan. Socks rolled down to his ankles. He rounded Bell, skipped to the byline and centre for the plunging St John to net in fine style. The exhausted United players had no more to give. Liverpool ran down the remaining minutes comfortably to earn their first FA Cup, sending Leeds back to Yorkshire empty-handed. The team was given an overwhelming reception when they arrived back in Leeds. Thousands were on hand when their train chugged into City Station. 60,000 lined the route to the Civic Hall for reception in the banqueting hall.